Hello, this is Dr. Bob DeMaria, the Drugless Doctor, getting to know drugless parenting. You've heard the term DARE. Just dare your children to say no to drugs. Well, today in America, over half the adults in the United States are taking at least one prescription medication. Well, there's been some frightening statistics that have been recently released that nearly 25% of all youth 20 years and younger in the United States today are taking at least one medication every day. 45 million prescriptions were written for asthma alone. 45 million prescriptions. That's almost impossible to comprehend. Children are taking medications because they're diabetics, they have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and diabetes. It is estimated right now, as I speak, that 1/3 of all kids that have been recently born in the United States within the next 30 years will become diabetics, creating an enormous drain to the health-related economy in our country today. Right now, the average Medicare patient takes between 5 and 7 medications per day. The cost of medications is increasing at a rate faster than inflation, nearly 7%. And there are some medications, and the owners of the pharmaceutical companies that are so bold that they have increased the cost of medications as much as 13% in 1 year for a drug that's at the end of its patent life. And they're saying they need more research and development. Don't you think it's ludicrous sometimes when you listen to these medications and drug advertisements that talk to you about all the different effects, and they use fear to make people think that they need these medications, and they go with a real quiet voice and they talk about some of the side effects, including erosion of the esophagus and stomach bleeding and headaches and even death? Well, the pattern that you're doing at home, yes, the choices that you're doing at home as an adult, your habits, your patterns are affecting the choices that your children are making. So let's talk a little bit about diabetes. You know, type 2 diabetes used to be considered an adult diabetes, adult onset. They don't use that term anymore. Type 2 diabetes is when a person's pancreas wears out. Do you know that it's been estimated that nearly 50% of the kids in the United States today are considered obese, that is, clinically overweight? And obesity is one of the leading causes of diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, and heart disease. Do you know that today in America, 167 kids ate their meals outside of the home? And the average calories for those meals are nearly 50 to 60 calories more per meal than they would get if they ate at home. Do you know that 31 million kids eat at the National School Lunch Program at any given time in America, and that number increases by millions every year? And that one of the main sources of the food that is inside of those lunches and those breakfast programs happens to be trans fatty acids. Do you know that taking trans fatty acids can increase obesity by 7%? They've done studies on primates that were given olive oil or trans fat, and the primates that used the trans fat over 7 years were 7% heavier. So what are you going to do about the diabetes? Well, it's going to be very simple. You, yes, parents, you need to make wise and necessary and immediate changes now. Why? ADHD parents become ADHD adults. Fat children become fat adults. So what I'm trying to do is to break the sequence that's occurring inside of your family. How are you going to do it? I want you to participate in your child's health. I would like you to have them say no to video games, no to TV, minimize their electronic toy exposure, increase activity, because I know that 95% of all diabetic conditions are based on lifestyle. So instead of quickly going through a fast food restaurant and having more calories and more fat and more sodium than their body needs, why don't you start with step number one? Why don't you sit down and have a family meeting and then start going to the grocery store and start choosing foods like whole vegetables. And you say, well, Dr. Bob, my kids won't eat those. Well, they will eat those if that's the only food that they have as an option. But I know, because children today are so intelligent, that if you give them an opportunity to participate with their food, they'll make wise food choices. I know a lot of the processed foods that you are consuming today have chemicals in them that are telling their tongue that they're tasting something different. This is a family project. You're not punishing your children. This is something that I would like you to do. I'm encouraging you to do, because the number one killer in America today happens to be heart disease. Then we have cancer, and we have diabetes. So let's talk a little bit about some cholesterol issues today. Most people think that eggs, red meat, and cheese is the reason that we have elevated cholesterol. Well, I'm here to tell you that stress has a lot to do with elevated cholesterol. What kind of stress level is your child under? What is your relationship like with the child's other parent, the biologic mom or dad? We want to encourage a better relationship so these children have less issues at home, because stress will raise cholesterol. Does your child have growing pains? Yes, that's right. Does your child have growing pains? Do they have cold hands and cold feet? Do they have leg cramps at night? Those are body signals of a low thyroid gland. You may, in fact, want to have your child check for thyroid function. Maybe you might want to add some iodine to them, because, see, you don't want a child to start having to take a medication for a condition that could be so easily helped by food. When you have a low thyroid gland, you're going to have elevated cholesterol. Now, this may be a stretch for you, but you could very easily incorporate Dr. Bob's ABCs to your life. It's a half an apple every day. This is what I would suggest you do. You get an apple, peel the apple, cut the apple up in segments, saute it in some water, about 1/4 inch of pure water in a saucepan until it's fork tender or translucent. Smash it. Have your child help you do that. Take it off the stove, let it cool, add some cinnamon to that. You just made applesauce. That'll help lower their cholesterol 13%. Bake some beets. You get beets, you cut the ends off, the greens, you bake them in the oven. Bake them for 1 hour with some Celtic sea salt, some balsamic vinegar, and olive oil. 400 degrees for an hour or 1 hour and 10 minutes. You could literally work on crushing those beets. You can add some cinnamon. I've had patients add cinnamon to the beets. And I know that if you have an explanation, because children today are so smart, you're going to start normalizing function. And finally, carrots. Dr. Bob's ABCs do the same thing with the carrots. You can bake the carrots, you can boil the carrots, you can steam the carrots, you can mash them. But those 3 foods alone will help improve liver function, minimizing the issue with cholesterol and diabetes. But I think the most significant thing you can do to lower the amount of medications or the potential medications that your child will be on is you want them to be outside. You want to exercise with them. Take them, if you belong to a gym, to the gym. Ride a bike. Go swimming. Play basketball. Have them participate in some type of organized sports. Regardless of the size of your child, whether they be tiny or larger children, you need to take the time to have them participate with social interaction. They need to get active. They need to burn calories. And then what I want you to do is review some of the other get-to-know videos of Dr. Bob, become label savvy, participate with your children, take them to the grocery store, have them participate in the food that they're putting in their body, be a part of their lives. I think that is so significant. Add pure water, and probably the biggest challenge for most of you is going to be is minimize or eliminating soda. Here's something that will help. Try drinking spritzers. Spritzers are grape juice sweetened. Don't try to change everything right away. Make small baby steps. I know it'll make a huge difference for you and for them. I'm Dr. Bob DeMaria, the drugless doctor, raising drug-free children.